right, so as of now, we are recording.
Hello, Scott. Welcome to Awaken Hidden Truth. How are you?
I'm good, Perry, thanks. I guess we're doing these weekly now. Now that you have a direct landline, the quality of the show will improve for your listeners, and that's always a good thing. A little better all the time is always a good thing. So yeah, that's all good. You're not just working with your little your cell phone now, right? You're working with that, or you're working with a laptop kind of thing?
Laptop now.
Oh, much better. Better memory, everything. Yeah, that's good. You got to start somewhere, right? You started with the phone, took some courage to just work with a phone and do this stuff out of nowhere. That's what you have to do when you want to change the world. You have to start doing something because you're courageous enough to do it with what little you have, and then it builds from there. Yeah, it's quite amazing.
That's why you are here with me today, Scott.
That's right.
And last time, you remember, you said you would take us to the past.
I do remember that. Yeah, I think we should go back to ancient Lemuria, before the poles changed overnight 100,000 years ago. And maybe we can visit. And of course, when people take the time to acquire the Emerald Doorway book, the first book of the Parallel Time trilogy, it has over 30 illustrations of characters and scenes in it, even in the ebook. It has a reference section in the back for defining terms of characters, technologies, and all that. But it doesn't have a technique section in it, which doesn't work in an ebook to refer back to reading samples at different pages, as you know. It makes it a little harder for people with an ebook to use that because it's designed for a trade paperback, where if I say, go read this chapter, third chapter on page 29 in chapter 3 or something, it's actually there. But in an ebook, it's never there. Because books download, a 404 page book could be 800 pages or 600 or 1,000. So it changes.
I went through that experience myself.
Yeah. It's just the technology. I don't know of a way to make an ebook where I suppose there might be some way. And as it becomes available, I will publish the books in ebooks that will keep. There's a way, I think, where you can make it stay on the same page, each thing in an ebook. But then when people download it, they're going to be happy with me because then they're not going to be able to raise or lower the font. It has to stay one way, and I don't think that's very practical for an ebook. Point of an ebook is so you can make the fonts bigger or smaller and get a comfortable reading on them. It's just a digital book. I prefer real books in my hand because I can get lost in the imagination and go on the adventure of what is being shown. My particular skill in writing is very colorful, very visual. So when people read it, they tend to start to be able to see what's in the book for themselves. It becomes experiential for them. Both books are written so they'll be experiential for the reader. They're like conduits, doorways, special channels that connect with the real person to begin to stimulate things they've been made to forget, whether it's past lives long ago, or lives in other worlds, or lives in higher dimensions. That's the way my work works. And people find that out over time as they get more into it. They realize I'm not joking, that I'm sincere and dedicated, and it's not some kind of sleight of hand or trickery. I really am here working with huge and vast amounts of beings that are from other worlds in our galaxy and higher dimensions that recently went through a consciousness change in a good way, to now be focused on helping to transform this world, very backward world, very misdirected planet of human beings for the first time in galactic history. So that's now begun. That started about 7 years ago and is beginning to ramp up a little bit. What that means is bringing about a change on this planet in a way that's not destructive. Because in the past, the whole surface of this world has been destroyed, and other planets in war long ago. And we don't want that to make change in the universe now. Tyrants the few spacefaring races with high technology that are tyrants, are being benevolently or kindly neutralized. The things that drive them to be that way subconsciously are being removed from them. So they don't come back to this world, pervert leaders here, and try to get property and resources and run slaves like they've been used to doing in galactic history. That's all changing. For permanently changing. I'm here on this planet at this time to bring about something that I originally came here to do more than 60 years ago. And it was interfered with back then, intercepted that mission to work with leaders here. Today, I'm simply stepping up because of things that have changed that provide a safe way to do it now, to carry out a mission I was sent here to do a long, long time ago, in Earth terms, decades ago. A lot has changed since I was compelled to be in this body when it was 3. The being who was in it was kicked out. This is the kind of thing that's happened to most people on this planet. They have no idea it was done to them. None. What they've got is people telling them to believe in this teacher or that, or faith, or worship God, a God they can never see and don't know. And they say, when you die, you go to heaven. This is not right. Beings, human beings on many other millions of other worlds don't live like we do on Earth. And people on Earth have been deliberately kept from knowing about any of the life that's out in the universe in vast numbers by a classified system that got put in place officially after World War II worldwide. That's slowly changing. That's a good thing. So when I talk with your people, I think they can hear it in my voice that I'm straight on serious about this stuff. You've been to one of our group sessions, little things that, where I can deal with a few people one-on-one, and you met some really very interesting, fun people. We all laughed and had a lot of fun. That's kind of how we conduct those sessions. And in those sessions, I kind of serve as a guide to help people go on journeys out of their body, down the time track, or to other realities, so they can begin to recover how to do this for themselves. Because a normal human being, unaffected by subconscious programming, can look into the universe on multidimensional levels and know things for themselves. What people on Earth don't realize is they once knew this stuff. Something happened to them along the course of galactic history that put them here on this Earth incarnating with no memory, incarnating in bodies. Their parents have had the same thing done. Long ago, genetics that certain genomes on DNA on human beings that are on Earth today were brought here with certain genomes turned off, like longevity, live 1,000 years or more, like normal human beings. Earth, what's 80, 100 years if you're lucky? So tyrants could control them. Normal human beings have telepathic capability, not just speaking with the voice, because telepathy is never distorted. It can't be distorted by psychic energies or positive and negative things. It's a pure form of communication between beings, not bodies. And normal human beings have photographic memories. All of them. They grow up this way. And Earth people have been kept completely in the dark about all this. The fact that I'm sharing with the world all about this recent change that happened out among the stars, that makes this revelation of change and changing destiny for this planet public, is because something's changed to the degree that a certain protection is provided now to make this change for the good of all life, even tyrants on Earth, political people, hidden families, Illuminati, doesn't matter whether it's reptilian or gray or tall whites or humans or Nordics, whatever people think they are. It's about retiring evil as an experiment out in the universe and on Earth behind the scenes, because if you don't do that, whatever happens on this planet is just like a broken record. It just keeps coming back. First the good guys win, then the bad guys win, then the good guys win, and it never ends. It's a broken universe in that way. And that kind of scenario has been going on for a very long time. And everybody knows it. Nobody's happy with it. Not even the beings in heaven and the higher worlds are no longer willing to support that experiment of evil, because it doesn't work. It never did. Something else had to come along to take its place that can really get beings co-creating in a trustworthy way with the source behind all life. That's what my work is about. Beyond the books, beyond the UFO conferences about extraterrestrials, beyond the radio shows, the websites, it's about what is taking place from the perspective of kind beings, not from Earth, out in the universe, in parallel and higher dimensions and how they're viewing this planet now, which has changed dramatically over the last 7 years. My telling people this is one thing, but it doesn't help them unless they can also be provided with the tools and a little guidance to know how to awaken this awareness again in themselves. That's what I do. That's my work. That's why I'm here. It's not just about what we appear on this radio show. I'm working behind the scenes all the time, 24 hours a day, with many beings from other worlds who are quite adept, well-trained at how to go about freeing subconscious traps in the minds of people. Because people have a subconscious mind, as everyone knows on Earth, but they think that's normal, and it isn't. Normal human beings on other worlds do not have subconscious minds. A subconscious means there's something in your awareness you don't know about through which you can be manipulated. It's very simple. So to be aware of what is the most dastardly, diabolical program that's running in subconscious minds of people that affects their nervous system and misdirects their thinking, they have to be able to, in a safe way, look and see what it was that happened to them before they were brought here and all their memory suppressed. And they found themselves on this planet going, what the heck's going on? Why would God do this to anyone? Well, it wasn't the source behind all life that did any of this. It was tyrants between that source and us pretending to be gods, demanding worship, demanding that you give them complete adoration and giving really nothing in return. It's just a way of controlling beings' energy. That's coming to an end. Out in the stars and on this planet. That's very important because people want to remember who they are. It's not about becoming enlightened in the future, in the distance, when you're disciplined and be a master. There is other learning and evolutions in spirituality as a being that master teachers can help us with, but it's not about becoming God realized in some divine being later on. It's about first recovering what you already had the ability to do as a being, as a soul, what very kind advanced extraterrestrials refer to as the Atma, the real being, not the body. The real being is spherical, what we call soul. It's energy, what people at the CERN Hadron Super Collider in Switzerland have found and determined and call it the God particle because they know it's not matter. It's in everything, under everything, behind everything. And they're very excited because they call it the God particle because they know it's not atoms and molecules and neutrons and electrons. It's something else. They don't know what it is. But it's inspiring them because it means because of the math that goes into determining what that is, that it's there and that it exists. It means the nature of the universe is multidimensional. And it opens a Pandora's box of huge possibilities about how big the universe is that they did not think that way before. It opens the door in a huge way, spiritually. It goes into and beyond quantum physics, quite a bit beyond it, actually. That door is being opened on this planet for the good of all life. And when I say all life, I mean all life is involved in this change. Tyrants, bad guys, good guys, all of it, because we're all in it together. And if we don't get rid of this experiment of evil, no one will ever see the end of this good and bad chain back and forth stuff that's been going on for, I don't know, billions of years out there. It's time for it to end because it's not productive. It just isn't. It never has been. It's like something that was created by all of us as beings. I'll get into that in a minute. In the beginning, because we thought it was a cool idea and it would cattle prod people or encourage them to be kind and do some, really get off their ass and be of benevolent nature to all life, to co-create with each other in good ways. But it didn't end up that way. The experiment of evil worked too well. And it ended up trapping a lot of what we call the divine being in individual divine aspects like we are, made of exactly the same energy as it is, the supreme being, the source. Identical in every way, with the same faculties and characteristics it has, but on a smaller scale, like a pure drop of water in a mighty ocean of that same water. That's what we really are. And that did not come into existence by some supreme tyrant super being that made us up out of itself as secondary creations. No. We were all at the beginning as the Atma, not the physical body, which was in existence before time and space was ever made in the lower dimensions. It's huge stuff when people begin to realize this, when they start to know that this is true. They realize that their real destiny as a human being is to be a trustworthy co-creator with that source, to come up with new ways of doing things that will benefit in uplifting ways all life. Not just life on Earth, all life everywhere in the grand multidimensional creation, because it is multidimensional in nature. And we as beings are also multidimensional, capable in that nature. Most people don't think that it's possible for them to comprehend the Supreme Being, of which they partly make it up. They think it's not possible to understand that. They don't have the IQ or the intelligence. This is not true. The body and the brain doesn't, but the being does. Most certainly it does. And once a person starts to remember this, they begin to realize they can know a lot of stuff they never thought they could know before. They can remember a lot of stuff they've been made to forget. Why? Because the nature of the Atma or soul is that it has always had dominance over any form of negativity, negative being in or out of bodies, or any negative misuse of technology on any plane of existence. But the Atma, not the body, the being, has been forced, manipulated to forget all that. It hasn't lost it, it's just suppressed. It needs to be recovered. That's why I am on this planet, representing a vast organization of world systems outside this planet. They're in the process of doing what I'm talking about collectively for the first time. So I hope that's good for your listeners to begin to hear this, and because as it sinks in, they're going to begin to realize, wait a minute, I used to know this too. Somewhere I used to know this. What happened? How did I get to be on Earth with no memory? They begin to realize that's not normal, and then they begin to find and create in their dream state at night when they leave their bodies. Everybody does. But they don't remember it. They don't know how to bring it back because the societies on planet Earth don't teach them when they're growing up about any of it. So why should they be comfortable with it? Why should they believe in it? That has all been orchestrated by tyrants, not just in this lifetime. So there's a lot for people to remember and to recover. If they want to become a spiritual master, first they got to remember all they once knew before they can go from there. If they want enlightenment, you can't just get enlightenment without gathering together all of the wisdom you've ever had in all the lifetimes you've ever lived in eternity on many planets, on many dimensions that brought you here. That must come first. Just spiritual common sense 101. Once people hear it for the first time and I say it, it's something triggers them and they begin to become like something. I'm saying something that it just haunts them in a way, in a good way. Something they once knew. All right. When we speak about the past or the past time track, we're talking about the Atma, the true being, not the body, which is a form of spherical energy, has a structure. And I can tell you what it looks like, because most people haven't got a clue what soul looks like. Do you? Do your listeners? I don't know of anybody I've met that really knows unless they've had the experience awakened in them. And it's not the physical body. And it never looked like this in God's image, if you want to look at it that way. We actually don't look like this at the source itself, or the supreme center of all things. Supreme is used as a word that sounds like something you would call a tyrant king, the supreme ruler, the supreme this, the supreme power. It isn't like that at the source of things. There's no being at the source of all things that demands we worship it and that we idolize it and that we give it adulation. The only thing that source requires of us is that we respect all life. Not just life on Earth, all life everywhere, in all its forms. That's natural and normal for awakened beings everywhere. Since the majority of the universe outside of Earth is already like this, Earth is in the path of something that there is no power, negative or otherwise, on Earth that can prevent what's happening here now to uplift this place. It's underway. It's hard for people to grasp this until they begin to experience it for themselves.
Scott, but when people start reading your books, and then many people asking me, like they want to go faster, they want to, like, when are they going to have those experiences, to meet friends from other dimensions, from,
When they're courageous enough to confront truth for its own sake and not what they want it to be. When they develop enough higher vibration, awaken enough to be able to look at what really happened that put them on this earth, then they can begin to recover all of that. Because once they do it, they're going to be required to be responsible for the higher faculties they wield in the universe with others. They can't go out there like spoiled kids and just throw higher powers around. That's not going to be tolerated. So beings need to recover the mature being that they are, not a body, not a child, not a man, not a woman, the being that they're going to play in the universe like they're meant to. We're meant to create new ways of doing things with the source behind all life. That means that the source does not have all the wisdom and all the answers in eternity at all times, like people have been taught. It means that there is a source comprised of all beings that you could talk with, that has a presence there. But it's not an individual being like we are. It's a focus point for all life spread out in the whole multidimensional universe. And so when we return to that source, we're expected to download new ways we've come up with for doing things to help the source find ways to make the lower dimensions, where so much good and evil has reigned for so long, to make them mirrors of the upper worlds, the worlds that exist above the void known to most Buddhists. And believe me, there are many dimensions above that. Just because Buddhists don't believe it or don't know it doesn't mean they are not there. The only way you can know they're there is to go there for yourself. When we travel down the past time trek, what we're really doing is going into the fifth dimension, which is the plane of the Atma, the first major divisional dimension above the void known to the Buddhists. Energy there from there on up works differently than it does down here. You create cause up there, there's no effect, there's no karma. When you create something there for the good of all life, it's tested by the beings there in the lower dimensions and up there to see if it's true, necessary, and kind. If those three things come back true, then they all get excited and implement that change. So when something new gets created up there, like the retiring of the concept of evil, because something that really works far better is taking its place, then they will implement that. And it's taken billions of years to get to where we are right now. And we happen to be alive on this planet Earth when that change out there is taking place. Couldn't be a better time to be alive. Because the future of this world has already been significantly altered permanently from its past prophesied destructive destiny. It's like asking yourself, was Trump ever prophesied to be president of the United States? No. Completely unexpected. Everything's changing. It's just changing. It's like a different future is being created for this planet than would have happened already. If beings I know of did not intervene, at least a little bit in this planet, the beings that are on this planet that have been subconsciously misdirected would have destroyed it in nuclear war already long ago. They tried to do that, but they were prevented each time, and that's very classified. They don't want to tell people about it. That their launch computers are shut down whenever they try that. They know they can't have nuclear war here. So it's gradually being done away with. That's important for people to know that. It's important that their imagination starts getting focused on that which is good and kind and great for themselves and their future. Because what people don't realize they're doing on Earth is they've been misprogrammed to create a good future for themselves and at the same time a terrified future for themselves and the future of the planet. That splits the consciousness in two directions, in two ways that are opposed to each other. And it creates in this omnipresent field of energy what they call the God particle that they found in the CERN super collider behind everything. It creates people taking their energy that's meant to be used in one good way for all life and splits it into opposing forces. It's like creating a short circuit. And their energy gets grounded in the earth and they stay unaware. So when a person starts to learn to use their imagination properly, to only and intentionally imagine that which will be good for all life, and get out this little box of earth and start thinking about life out in the whole universe, because it's a big place, and start getting off thinking like a little human shut down on a little planet. Get out there and start exploring being a divine being, a conscious being again out in the universe, because that's our true nature. Not something they need to find in the future, something they need to recover in the present. When we go up to this Atma plane, the plane of soul, above the void known to Buddhists, we look down from there through the lower four dimensions of etheric, mental, causal, astral, all that, major divisions, where the positive and negative stream of creativity runs through it, which is the problem, how people use those two streams. Instead of harmonized as one thing to create things, they split them, and they got problems with that. Then you can look down at some place like Lemuria, 100,000 years ago on Earth, and see it like a motion picture. And then you can light it up and go into it and experience it, what happened then. You don't go there and change the past. You go there and learn from it, experience what it is you did there, how you died there. How can that help you be a better being today? That's what past lives are all good about. It's the only thing that's good about them is to go and explore them so that they can help you today be a more trustworthy, conscious co-creator with the source behind all life. That's what my work is about. Mm-hmm. So if your people want to go visit Lemuria, for me to do a kind of a guided session, you got all kinds of consciousnesses listening to your show on all kinds of level of fear and doubt. I don't know how effective it would be. I'm more effective one-on-one with people this way. But for instance, I'll give them a general visual about how to go about this. But if they don't apply this to themselves, they're going to be wasting their time and mine. Because I don't charge for any of this, as you know. There's no money involved in any of this. The beings I work with from other worlds do not work with monetary systems of any kind. They don't barter. Somebody with 50 cows does not use them to lord over other people that have 2. That system wouldn't work either on this planet. If money was gotten rid of and everybody bartered, that would still be controlled by tyrants in the end. They don't do that. Why? Because they give of themselves from each planet to each other for the benefit of all life. Someone's short on food in another world, they just transport the excess over there. They don't charge them for it. They're not charged money for the right to be born on the planet. They aren't taxed. There's no money involved. They made it illegal because money is used by tyrants to control people. Earth is full of that. Everybody has to use it. It's practical. We know. We live here. No one's going to give you a burrito if you give them this envelope as a piece of paper from a tree and say, here, give me a burrito for this. They'll just look at you. They won't do it. But if you give them a piece of paper with ink on it, made from a tree, from sawdust, and it's money, then they'll give you a burrito. That's how brainwashed people are. They think it's valuable. It's only valuable because they've been taught to believe it is. Otherwise, it has no value. Most currency on this planet isn't backed by valuable coin or metals or anything else. It's just brainwashing. And everybody's doing it, including the leaders on the planet. They're caught in their own bad habits, so to speak. So undoing that has to be a gradual process and done in a way that won't cause destruction and death. That's what we're focused on. So if we go to this Atma plane, first of all, people need to know how to get there. They don't know how to do that. They don't believe in it. They don't have any confidence in themselves to do it. Most people don't. They once knew how to do it. If I want to go there, I go into this first sound behind all creation known as hue. It's the first half of the word human, for crying out loud. It's hidden in plain sight. It's like tyrants are slapping people in the face with it. Hey, the key to freedom is right here in this word human. You're never going to see it because it's hidden in plain sight. No one knows what its value is, but it has great value. Because in the beginning, it was set up to mimic the sound that started all creation, a first sound. Which sounds like that, but much deeper and higher and from a source. But what it does is vibrate the pineal gland in the center of the brain in a human body. Then it opens a door through that pineal gland because there's rods and cones in it, like in the human eye. They're tuned to certain frequencies out in the universe in different realities. And once they're awakened, a being can go, oh, I'm going to go to Mars. There's the Mars button. I'll push that. There's the frequency from Mars. Now, as a being, I'll ride on that omnipresent current that's underlying everything, and I'll go to Mars. Not in the body, but as a being who doesn't need a spaceship to get there. The more advanced beings don't. So you go to this plane by sending out the hue, which begins to open a door, the protected doorway. Psychic energy is not involved. I'm not bad-mouthing psychic energy. I'm saying that psychic energy is filled with the dual current of positive and negatives running right through it. And it swings like a pendulum from one to the other, so it's not reliable energy. You got to go into the energy behind the dual current of Maya, illusion, to the one first source if you want to get beyond what cannot be relied on and go into something that can be within your own being, and then connect to that something out in creation. So we do it that way. What I tell people is first relax in a chair, on a bed, in some way that makes them comfortable. Try to be private or quiet so there's not a lot of distracting things going on around. Find a time to do it. Take several deep breaths, and then in your imagination, look around the room, find a shelf, and just in your imagination, put all your concerns about the future of the planet, concerns about your life, your destiny, money, health, age, relationships, tyrants, governments, UFOs, extra, all of it. Just put it on a shelf for now while we do this. You'll be able to pick it up when you come back, but really what we're talking about here is moving across time and space and beyond it in the true form that we are, which is capable of doing this, not the physical body. Beings in other worlds that know how to do this and get around the universe will play in spaceships and do that too because it's fun. It's nice to get in a boat once in a while and go on vacation, a boat that goes across the stars. And you can see the scenery along the way. But in reality, they can just project from there to here and look at stuff. They don't need to take a day to go from somewhere in the Pleiades area, 500 light years away. It takes 7 or 8 hours in a ship, certain ships, to get us, not very long, much faster than the speed of light. I can tell you that the people in the CERN Super Collider, those scientists have no idea what this particle they detect, if it's even relative to the speed of light. It isn't. It's going to be a shocker for them when they start to find that out, that it just changes everything about travel across time and space because it's not relative to the laws of physics as they know it. They're just beginning to unravel that mystery. When they start to unravel what that energy is and how it works, travel between portals, between dimensions and higher realities, and travel across the stars will be possible for people on Earth. In reality, people on other worlds already know how to do that and have for hundreds of millions of years, and they'll share it with people on Earth once this planet is run by kind people. The most wise spiritual people should be running governments here, people that the people can trust. That's not the way it is on Earth yet, but it will be that way. What is underway now cannot be reversed by people in power on this or any other world. It's not meant to harm any of them. It's meant to help them let go of stuff that's been driving them to be tyrants and keep secrets and lord it over other people. None of them really want to do that. They just can't help themselves. It's important they understand it, and they are understanding it as we're speaking. If you think they're not listening to this video, Perry, think again. They are. I'm not concerned about it. It's for their benefit. I know that. Down deep, they do too. The beings I work with are not about harming anyone or shooting tyrants or toppling governments or any of that. They're about helping people in those positions become kind beings, right? Awake beings again, unmanipulated by subconscious programs that are diverting them in negative ways right now. That was done to them without their consent or awareness, like it was done to everybody else here. I don't blame them. I'm not angry with them. I'm not after revenge for anybody or anything. I know what was done to them. They can't help it. If they could, they wouldn't do it. So they're going to need help from beings who are not stuck and trapped to help them get out of it. Way beyond just me. I'm one person, one being. So when you go about the time track, first thing to do is to go into the hue. I don't know, 5 or 6 times. But before you do it, first imagine someone you love and are grateful for them being in your life and that you respect. For instance, a person, a place, a pet, a child, the planet, a waterfall, a butterfly, whatever opens your heart. That's the first prerequisite. Imagine someone you love, because to do that means you're only creating positive, constructive things with the imagination. You're utilizing the great gift of the imagination properly. And only then will it connect to this primary, omnipresent first energy. And then it helps us, and we help it. That's how it works. It's reciprocal. So if we do that, I can at least describe for people, if they want to close their eyes and go into this journey, I will describe what Lemuria looked like before it was destroyed. What the beings did that were there from other worlds and where they went and why, things like that. And that can be helpful to trigger their memory. And they'll find out a lot more about that in the Emerald Doorway book, because it goes into all this. Maldek, how it got destroyed, why the poles flip, the extraterrestrials, good and bad, that were involved influencing this planet then that are today, is covered. They would meet Etta, who's a Dren, who's silica-based, not carbon-based as we are, more highly evolved than most human beings, has a wife and kids. He's not human. He's not anybody on Earth knows is extraterrestrial. He's endearing, lovable, courageous to a fault. And he's a friend of mine, a long, old friend of mine. More than 100,000 years since we've known each other. First cross paths. So there is so much life out there people need to be warmly greeting and be unafraid to approach if they want to really recover who they are. There's an old saying, you can only have as much of God as you can imagine. No more, no less. You can only have as much of God or God awareness or consciousness as you can imagine. No more, no less. So it really it's very important that we utilize the imagination properly. And we're never going to get that. It's a creative power, but it's not a power you can bottle and manipulate and grasp in your hands. It can only be utilized and will fill our desires or imaginings when our imaginings are for the good of all life, not just selfish and petty. Doesn't work well that way. Doesn't work with negative emotions. It doesn't work with negative imagination. Tyrants will. Tyrant technologies would be happy to do that. The source itself will not. And our true nature will not either. So we want to get that lined up. Take several deep breaths. Put all your concerns about everything you ever had in your life from childhood onward on a shelf. Just in a shelf in your imagination. It's all there. There's fear, there's lack of money, there's this, there's the relationship. It's all over there for now, just for now. Then imagine someone you love and respect and are grateful for that, whatever it is, being in your life. And then we're going to go and do this hue 5 times. There's a point for this. And I'll start it. People in the listening audience and can do this with me in their own privacy and sanctity of their own home or being. No one's going to be interfering. No one's going to be seeing them. They know they're there. We're going to send it out 5 times with a pause between each one to start raising the vibration considerably from what they're used to on Earth here. Because this is a doorway of a new ray that's blended in the hue, which is the first sound behind all creation. And this ray only works one way, to inspire beings everywhere in creation now, to only bring into creation that which will be of uplifting benefit to all life everywhere. Therefore, it makes sense that beings on Earth need to become aware again of all life everywhere so they can create with it, and not just on this little planet. If they want to play among the stars and in other dimensions, this is part of what they must do. I'll start this off. When people imagine something, if they imagine I'll give you an example, a waterfall. People know how to close their eyes and imagine an apple, or a child, or a mountain, or a glacier, or the ocean, or trees, or forests, or birds. Just imagine looking at an ocean on a peaceful black sandy beach. They exist on Earth, certain places. And you're just sitting in the warm sand, watching this beautiful ocean waves go in and out, and you can hear the sound of the crashing water. It's very peaceful. This begins the use of the imagination to travel. People don't know they can do this, so they don't utilize it this way. They think incorrectly that they're making up what they see in their imagination in their brain. This is not true. There's really nothing in the brain, in the gray matter in the skull of a human being. It doesn't have a camera and a motion picture projector upon which it can project images. It is the being, not the body, that imagines things. It's the first thing people need to understand. Otherwise, they'll be limited to thinking of themselves as a body and a brain. They'll be stuck on Earth. That won't work. Imagine that body on that beach, in that sand, comfortable, and then see a sphere of energy rise up above the top of the head of that body. Sitting comfortable with the eyes closed in that sand, looking at the ocean. And you can hear this sound running through you, coming from someone very far away. Something everyone used to know how to hear. That's why they were called human beings. And women. It's the being that is using the body and the vocal cords or silently inside to connect or open this doorway to the center of their own being that isn't physical and the center of the supreme source, the source, prime creator, which is what the very most advanced, spiritually and technologically advanced extraterrestrials call the source, prime creator. It isn't a tyrant. It doesn't require that we worship it. It never did. But it does require that we respect all life. Very important. So, Perry, you have your eyes open. Did you want to stop or do you want to go on?
No, it's okay. Can go on.
Better if you close your eyes if you're going to see this stuff.
Yeah, because I could see many people sitting along on the black sand beach, you know.
That's fine. Remember, this is about individual experience. So you're going to make your own journey along with everybody else. I am. I see and speak about what I see taking place. Or I couldn't speak of it. It's to help other people see it and get the kinetic energy to get moving in the right direction again toward co-creating their own enlightenment or awakening. If they don't do it, nothing will happen. Too many people are waiting for a savior to come by and save them and wave a magic wand and take them to some heaven. There's no proof in all of the history of this planet that that's ever happened. No one's come back to say, I went to heaven. I'm not being insulting here toward any religious belief or faith, but I am saying that people need to recover their own knowing ability to know who they are that's divine and what that divine source is by direct experience, not by faith alone. Because there's no way to tell if what you believe in is right if you don't experience it for yourself. It's kind of spiritual common sense. Enlightened people on earth, in any religion, when they wake up to this, will begin to share with others how to experience God and themselves for themselves. They won't require that people just believe what they tell them. It doesn't make sense. And it has not changed the world one bit in thousands of years. It's still a dastardly, diabolical place, isn't it? People are waiting for someone to come by and take them out of here. But the real truth of it is that each being is responsible for being a co-creator of this source. Because they are. They just don't know it. So, should I continue this or do you want to stop because you've opened your eyes? Do you want your audience to go on this journey or not?
Maybe next time, Scott.
Okay. Is there a reason why you want to stop it?
Yes.
Why? Why?
Because I would like people to like how can I say that? They stay with themselves this week, okay, and next week keep coming, keep practicing, you know, to get to know more.
They need to know it now because there's a lot more we can do in other sessions.
Okay, so keep going.
Interrupting this is not the right thing to do for your people.
Okay.
You don't need to make them wait. There's a whole lot, infinite amount more we can journey in.
You're recording now, right?
So yeah, I'm still recording. Okay. I haven't stopped.
Go on, no problem. Good then.
So you just interrupted the whole flow for your listeners. That wasn't really the right thing to do. I'll just be honest with you. It wasn't the best choice.
Okay.
As you know, I don't pull any punches with truth. We don't have time for it. So they're on this black beach, imagining this black beach, looking at this ocean. And they're a sphere of energy that's moved out of the top of their head in this image. Now that sphere is going to fly up through the atmosphere up above planet Earth and hover in space. Doesn't need to breathe there. It's perfectly safe. It's not radiation from the sun or nuclear energy or any of that. And it's not a physical body. It cannot be harmed by any of that. And I ask your people to imagine they've all seen pictures of the planet from Hubble telescope or from NASA or space shots or shots of galaxies and planets. They all know what Earth looks like from out above the planet. They can see their familiar continent on its surface. They can see the beautiful blue-green world turning on its axis. They can see stars in space all around them in every direction. Now we're going to look down at this planet Earth from this position near the western coast of the United States, just as a start. Because what's in the ocean, what was in the ocean that borders this continent was Lemuria 100,000 years ago. It lasted 100,000 years and was destroyed overnight. Other land masses were on this planet with other civilizations here from the stars, going back more than 50 million years since the dinosaurs were made extinct, and people don't remember any of this. It's real history 101. We're going to go down through the atmosphere of Earth, and you're going to see the continents change as we approach it. And you'll see a huge continent extending considerably into the north and the south, above and below the equator. To find out what Lemuria looked like when the planet's poles were 180 degrees in the opposite direction from where they are today, you could trace a line around the ring of fire. That ring of fire goes around Alaska, down California, Washington, Oregon, California, down South America, across New Zealand, Australia, and up through Asia, and up through Thailand and China, and up through the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia, across the Bering Strait and back to Alaska. That's where all the volcanic area is in the Ring of Fire. That's the size and shape of Lemuria before it was destroyed. On the other side of this world, then, was a continent 2/3 its size. People today would call Atlantis. It was nearly independent in its own right when the poles flipped and destroyed both land masses. Very quickly, the sea floor rose up to create new land masses from those two that were sinking, all but an island about 500 miles across that survived, which developed over 70,000 years to become the Atlantis Edgar Cayce talked about, that was destroyed 35,000 years ago. People can argue at this point all they want. I don't care. Some think it was 12,000 years ago. It was further back than that. And it was destroyed through the misuse of science. Contrary to what people have heard from other sources, there was no nuclear war that destroyed Lemurian Atlantis. There was a nuclear war on this planet, but it happened long before that. In ancient Earth history, the planet wasn't destroyed, but life was and had to recover. And then beings from other planets recolonized this planet, which basically is sharing with your listeners that human beings never evolved on this planet in the first place. Human beings evolved several billion years ago out in the galaxies and were brought here in one scenario or another. People have been made to forget all about this, who live on Earth today, for the most part. And we're going to go down to this continent, this huge continent, in this pure spherical form through our imagination. And we're going to come to find that there are black sandy beaches all along the edge of this huge landmass. And we're going to land on one of those black sandy beaches. And as you do this, you're going to realize the body you have, an energetic form of a physical body sitting on that black sand, is the one you're going to re-enter. Because The black sandy beach we first started seeing is not on Earth in the parallel dimension where we live. It's in another dimension on Earth, a parallel dimension, where a Lemuria exists that never sank. The poles never flipped. It's a sacred sanctuary. It's been protected by extraterrestrials and advanced beings for over 100,000 years. Beings come and go from there to here in certain ways through certain doorways. Most of them are not native to Earth. They are kind. So we're already sitting in a form we can imagine in this place. They're sitting on a beach 100,000 years ago, on a continent before it was destroyed. They can smell the rich air, pure oxygen. They can feel the mist of the crashing waves floating through the air and touching their face. They can feel an energy rise up through their feet from these sands. It's very uplifting. And the energy they're feeling is being transmitted back to their physical body, wherever it may be on Earth listening to this show. It continues through them here out into the world for the good of all life. This particular place is charged with this new ray in the omnipresent first sound, the hue. So it's a good place to come to get recharged here on Earth. This kind of energy does something uplifting and life-changing for the person it passes through, but it cannot be bottled up or grasped in your hands. It has to be allowed to flow freely through you for the benefit of all life. This is how we co-create with it. This time, Perry, we won't go into more detail about this parallel dimension, but they are there. Your audience is already there. So when they're ready, they can open their eyes and just be where they're used to being here. It's kind of a tricky way to get there, but they started out being there without realizing it. And then we went out in space and came down into the past time track to that time period and then re-entered the bodies that were already there. In other words, the Atma can go to a place like that and feel the presence of a physical body. It projects from the sphere that they are, that looks like you here, and they can touch the sand and dive in the ocean and play around. They don't realize that this is true and that they have this ability until they begin to work with it. And then it begins to make sense to them because they used to know how to do it. So that would be my first little bit of guided journey for people to know how to go about not just going down the past time track, but to other planets or into higher dimensions to experience things for themselves.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
See, that's why I want it stopped.
I'm happy that you can bring these two people, Scott. You know, it's time.
It's technique, it's experience for them. If they work with the hue is a kind of a protector, a charge, and it gives them the energy they need to start to break through these bonds by their own free will, to break these subconscious bonds that were placed in them against their will before they were even born on this planet. And that's important. So if I don't share with them how to go about this, and it takes a little time, I ask people to be kind to themselves and patient, to work the hue over time, a little every night before they go to bed, the same way I demonstrated it on this video of this radio show. Because then it starts to make sense. Their dreams change. Who they meet changes. The way they view the world changes. They begin to see through the illusion of things. They begin to drop their fists. What does that mean? It means that people are trained to fight the good fight on Earth. They're trained to fight the bad government, the Illuminati, the Queen, this, that, hidden government, and the bad ETs, and they're always got their fists up, which means they're being tricked into using their imagination to allow negative frequencies to come into them and manipulate them. They don't realize they're doing it because they're putting their imagination in a negative direction, and in it comes. This is something they need to know not to do to begin to turn the way their life is around, physically, spiritually, in every way. So I guess that wraps up that part of it, but I do want to send something out for the benefit of your listeners. Just one. You remember. It's about recall and remembering. Not about discovering it for the first time, but remembering you once knew it and how to work with it. And that takes a little work on a planet as backward as this to get it going again. Could have been many lifetimes for some of the people here before when they last used this stuff properly. So I hope that benefits everybody.
Yes. So see you again next Friday.
Yeah, we will do more and we'll go somewhere else. I want to get your audience listeners used to how to start to work with this. So this would be the first step in the right direction. So with permission, I'll stop the recording.
Okay. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.